So my topic is using some real world examples. I'm going to show you how 4.3 is going to be much better fit. And I'm using Service Pack 3. So there are a lot of new functionalities. And because these are derived from real world examples, most of you will recognize some of these examples. So let me start with few. I narrowed down like 4 examples from where I can see that 4.3 can be very helpful. So there are a lot more than this demo that you can actually benefit from in Service Pack 3. So this one, I'll start with the simplest one. So what we did in this particular dashboard, it was kind of a webby dashboard. You can recognize the use case. We used element linking and input controls to filter down a lot of data and create dashboard-like interactivity. We created that in 4.2. So for example, if I filter for internals product, this particular chart filters the product name, product chart filters for internals, and for network, if I filter for network, the whole chart filters for network. And you can see how I display the selected value here. In 4.2, I had to do a lot of workaround because there was no function or any built-in capability to capture the selection when I use input control or element linking type of filters. So there was no way to capture that particular filter. So what I had to do, let me show you this. So I recreated that exact solution here so that you can see, and I don't have to go back to an actual 4.2 environment. So I display this in my title, the chart title. I want to display exactly what I have selected in my product group. And if I open up the formula editor, let me know if you can see this. So I had to capture that value from the report filter summary. And report filter summary captures any type of report filtering. It can be an actual filter applied on the report, a static filter applied on the report. It can be input control, it can be element linking. All of them are captured in that report filter summary. And then it is a huge long string from which I had to find exactly where my input control selected value is, where my element control selected value is. So depending on how many input controls I have, how many element linking I have, how many actual report filters I have, I had to do a lot of permutations and combinations to come up with those formula. So the simplest, actually, let me go back there. Let me know what's up. So I hid a few cells here. I'm gonna show them now. So this is my report filter function. And if I specify the report name, it gives me the product group equal network. So I had to look for that in my formula. And remember, this is, I'm talking about what I had to do in 4.2. Okay. So in this cell, I was looking using the POS, the position function. I was looking for that particular string product group equal, and then adjusting the space exactly. And if it's a simple filter, I know wherever that product group equal text is, I have to start looking for the selected value there. If it was a combination of report filters, input controls, and element linking, then I had to do more complex formula there. And using all of that, I could capture and then display that either in a cell or in a chart title. Especially if it was in a chart title, this is exactly what I had to do. The other workaround I had was using a vertical table. So I added an additional vertical table with the product groups on which I have the input control set for. And then I made sure that that vertical table is also getting filtered. And then when this is getting filtered, I made it to look like just a cell by kind of removing the header. Let me show you what I did. I removed the header. So now it looks like just a cell, and remove the borders. And then I displayed this as a cell. And I had to add an if condition, like if, so for example, count of product group equal to 1, then show the product group, else show maybe all. So that's all kind of complex workaround I had to create in 4.2. Now let me show you what I can do in 4.3. So I have an input control here on region. Okay, let me go back to all for a second. So this one is set up as an element linking map. So when I click on a state, it filters the rest of the blocks. So if I select Midwest, it filters from the input control, it filters everything. And then you can see I have this title showing the actual value, the selected value. But let me show you what I had to do here to get that value. So now I have a function called InputControlFilter. So all I have to do is just pass the name of that input control, which is customer region here. Okay. So this is my input control setup, and the name of my input control is customer region. I have to pass that to this. And it has 2 more optional arguments where you can change the separator if you want. So if for me, this is a single selection. If I change it to a multi-select input control, I choose 2 values here, and the default separator of the values are semicolon, but I can change that to a stroke, a hyphen, something with more optional argument to that function. And then I'm going to reset this. So this chart is now filtered for California because I have selected California from my geomap. And let me show you how I'm displaying this value. So I have another function in SP3, 4.3 SP3, which is called element linking filters. And I have to pass the name of the block, which is the filtering block. So geomap is the name of my filtering block. And when I want to capture the selection from that filtering block, I have to pass the name of that filtering block to element linking filters function, and it gets me the value. So it is much simpler. So Cindy, you probably remember how many complex formulas we wrote to capture so many, right? Yeah. So, and I Googled several blogs, and they said you can capture it from report filter function. You can capture the input control and element linking, but it didn't really do that. So I had to use that report filter summary, and it is much simpler now. Yeah. The other thing in that same dashboarding, we had a requirement to hide a report tab on occasions, like if the value was less than a certain amount, or if there was no data or something. We just wanted to hide that whole tab, but we couldn't do that in 4.2. But in 4.3, we can actually do that. In 4.3, I think it was introduced in Service Pack 2. So I have this tab called, I just called it Conditional Hiding. And if you look at the report property, under the display one, I have two options here. One is hide always and hide when formula is true. So in 4.2, you have seen we have this property for blocks where you can hide a particular block all the time, or you can add condition to hide a block. Now we can do that for report tab in 4.3. Okay, so you can either hide it directly from the drop down. That would be a complete hiding. But you can also add condition, like I added a condition here. If revenue is 650,000, less than 650, 650,000, 100,000. Gosh. So if the revenue is less than that, I want to hide this tab. Now you will see the tab in design mode with this kind of icon. But if I go to reading mode, right now I have more revenue than that. So it's showing up. But if I refresh my document, say so right now the data is for 2020 and 2022. If I take off 2020 and refresh the report for just 2022, the tab is gone. Okay, so that's really another thing. The moment I saw that, it reminded me of that use case that wish we could do that back then. All right. So let me go to my second example. Which is, this is my go-to example for a lot of case studies for showing a lot of things. Again, I built this in 4.2. You'll recognize this. So this was a dashboard I was very proud of, honestly, Webby dashboard. And the main purpose of this dashboard was to showcase that we can use Webby to build dashboards. So the way it worked was you click on, so it showed some summary information here with different region for different metrics like sales, opportunities, leads, interest lists. And then you can navigate to each of these metric tabs by clicking on the summarized value. So once you go there, the sales data is further broken down into several other dimensions, other attributes. And then I can interact with it further. So this is divided in 4 regions. And again, all of them are very interactive. Under each division, I have data, under each region, I have data for several divisions under that. And when I click on West, the bottom section gets filtered for the divisions of West. And I have more detailed data for the divisions, and I can further drill down to each division, and this chart filters for this. So all of these are done with element linking, right? Now let me go to Texas because I built this one.
To the intra-document, you had to pass the actual syntax
That's my use case here. So I'm going to show you what I had to do. So for intra-document linking was introduced in 4.2, but at the time I could not pass any parameter or any value. But I kind of got stubborn that I want to pass a value. So when I filter for, say, Texas here, I have the divisions for Texas. And if I further filter, say I have to be in reading mode for the links to work. And then I have another link which says view all communities in Austin. And when I click on that, Actually, let me go back. So let me show it West. I'll tell you why. So I filtered for West, and then I filtered for Phoenix, and then this is annoying. How can I get rid of this? Yeah. Okay. So view all communities for Phoenix, and it takes me to this tab, and you can see that it also filters for Phoenix. It's not a built-in functionality in 4.2. So what I did was I created a bunch of flags. Before I created a bunch of flags, I created a lot of references. You will see here. It's a lot of references to capture the value of my selection. So when I select West, that value I'm capturing in one of these reference values. Then when I'm selecting a division under that, then that's being passed to another reference. And then I go to mode. Let me show you all the flags I had created like this. So region flag, region filter flag, division filter flag for each of those regions. So luckily I had 4 fixed regions. It was just those 4 values. But I had to create a filter for each one, each combination of that. And then what I did, and this is the 4.2 version. So in my detail table, let me go to the I created an OR combination of filters to kind of, if this is why, then this or this, all those combinations finally. And it took a long time to even test it out that it can be done. At some point, business and everything, you know what, it's okay if we cannot get it done, but you know me. So we got this done. So it was really a cool solution that we were able to do this. But let me show you what we can do in 4.3 now. So I set this up in 4.3 for Texas. So I have to go to reading mode to change the filter. So I've filtered for, let's say, Houston. And try to be patient for that to go away. Okay. So view all communities in Houston. It takes me to this new tab because I set it up the way I set it up in 4.3. And let me show you what I have here. So I don't have any filters on this particular table anymore. I don't need any of those flag filters. What I have is an input control up there on division because I want this report tab to be filtered for division. Okay. And now it is filtered for Houston because that's what I clicked on. So the way it is set up in my source report tab is so now I have this cell and I have an intra-document linking. And if my target report has an input control, it shows up in the intra-document linking setup. So all I have to do is check that box here that I want to use this input control and select the object on which I want to filter.
So like 5 minutes.
That's 5 minutes job.
Oh, I don't know.
I had to recreate that filtering effect. It was not, the intra-document linking was not really doing anything. The moment I made the filter selections on the source tab, the target report block is already filtered by the flags. The intra-document linking just took me there. But I had to do that for all combinations. But now that's all I have to do. So, yep. Fine. And the other thing for this dashboard we wanted to do was add a slider input control to kind of change the values. I think what we wanted to do is for this particular chart that whether we want to show top 20, top 5, or top 10, we wanted to give user that control. But in 4.2, you remember the input control tab came on the left-hand side, and sometimes it hides, it comes back. And business did not think that it was very intuitive for users to know that it is there, that control is there, and then being able to reset that, go back to that, reset that. So it kind of dropped that idea. But now in 4.3, they moved the input control, all kind of filtering up on the top. So it's kind of part of the dashboard, the kind of feel. So now, right now I set it up to show, filter the count of cells based on this. So to make the, to work on the element linking, I have to be in reading mode. So yeah, so now if I say change this, I can make the filter selections right from there. And it's also much easier to reset. Not easy, I'll not call it easier, but more intuitive for end users to know that I have these controls right as kind of part of the dashboard. So I feel like if we had this option back then, users will be more open to this sliders option right there. Also, let me go to this, or any of this actually. Again, if I made multiple selections on a page, on a tab, I have to open up that input control panel and then reset all. Again, was not very intuitive. But now you can do that right from here. So that will reset everything. And this is very easy to show you on this geo map. When you make a selection, you can also just remove the filter from right there. In 4.2, you kind of have to find that spot on the top right corner to reset that as the use file. But now you can just apply a filter from here. And then you can remove the filter from here. If I can get to it. And that's my presentation. One other thing I did not include here, but Roxanne's, when Roxanne was talking about the Webby as a data source, I have added that, like, that's a good use in the, like in standard reporting that we did. We could have used that a lot because we had a lot of similar reports, very similar queries, complex queries, and the query filters level and everything. And we could use that instead of recreating that so many times. You want to make a change, you just make a change in that source Webby filter report, and all other filters get affected by that. So not many. Yeah. Any question? All right, thank you.
Okay.